Greetings, programs. Welcome to episode 34. Why your brain works backwards, and you better get used to it. So this is going to be another one of those your brain does not work the way you think it does episodes. So we all know how our brains work, right? We think up reasons to do stuff, and then we do them. We think rationally, right? Well, no. Like many things, it's pretty easy to show once you start looking. See, you might look at a shiny new car or cool phone or other exciting new toy and rationally reason why you should have it. But you don't. What actually happens is you see the shiny thing and want it, and then you start rationalizing why it's actually going to save you money, or it can be written off as a business expense, or a dozen other reasons why it's not actually a stupid idea to spend a load of money on the shiny new thing. Almost as if you were trying to justify it to your conscience. Think about it. There will be countless examples of things in your life that you wanted, then justified, then bought, and then used those same justifications to someone else to explain why you got your shiny new toy, or spent all that money. And they probably weren't that convinced either. And you can imagine that when you hear somebody say something like that, you can probably figure out, hey look, they just bought a cool new thing. And even in those cases where you were able to come up with solid justifications, they still were not the actual reason why you bought the thing. You bought the shiny thing because it was shiny and you wanted it. But they do make you feel better when you look at how much money you spent on the shiny new thing. Okay, so why is this? Well, the major issue is that humans have two main methods of thinking. Slow, logical thought, and fast instinctive thought, aka System 2 and System 1 respectively. Footnote number 1, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. And here's the thing, those labels are not random. System 1 thought is fast. That's what keeps you alive in a world with tigers and lions in it. And the problem is, all it really does is just weld the two nearest concepts together and then run with it. And this is how superstitions develop. You wore red socks today. You did super well today. Therefore, the red socks are lucky and made you do super well. You saw a black cat. Something bad happened. Therefore, the black cat made the bad thing happen. There's a rustle in the bushes. Lions make rustles in bushes, or scary monsters. It's a lion, or a scary monster. Now, sometimes these fast, intuitive approaches are right, or at least work well enough to let you survive and breed, and that's all that really matters in the end of things. So we are descended from folks that thought this way, the ones that did not, the ones that thought carefully and slowly and rationally about what is that rustle in the bush. They're not here today. They were eaten by the lions, because sometimes, yes, that rustle in the bush really is a lion. But somewhere along the way, we learned the trick of thinking rationally, logically. But we have a problem. We often seem to think that because we can think logically and rationally from time to time, we therefore do think logically and rationally all the time. But we don't. And because our irrational thinking, the type 1, is much faster and simpler, it gets there first. And thus, when your slower type 2 thinking catches up, most times it is simply used to justify the course of action we have already committed ourselves to. But it gets even worse. As discussed in previous videos, free will seems to be an illusion, and the consciousness, the bit of us that we think is us and does all the thinking, is just along for the ride.
How is he doing this?
His software is faster, his hardware is stronger. He's a better machine.
But you said humans hesitate.
Only when they're making decisions.
He's not making decisions?
Or yes and no. In his everyday life, man rules over the machine. Alex makes his own decisions. Well, when he engages in battle, the visor comes down and the software takes over. And the machine does everything. Alex is, he's a passenger, just along for the ride.
But if the machine is in control, then how is Murphy accountable? Who's pulling the trigger?
When the machine fights, the system releases signals into Alex's brain, making him think he's doing what our computers are actually doing. I mean, Alex believes right now he is in control, but he's not. It's the illusion of free will.
And then simply updating your conscious mind to believe that it had made the choices. How would you tell? Could you tell? Yep, that's right. The ultimate mind control conspiracy. Your thoughts are being controlled by an entity outside of your conscious mind. It's your unconscious mind. And we have just gotten used to thinking, hey, this is fine. Because it's always there. And really, what choice do you have? It's not like you can change it. You can't just change how your brain works just by thinking hard about it, or wanting it really badly. If you think about it, it's a little unsettling. It's a little like discovering that your mind is being controlled by a person at a workstation someplace in some scary 3-letter agency, and then happily claiming that person as your personal controller, and then simply moving on with your life. It's starting to look, after research, like the conscious mind is simply a cataloging process. That consciousness itself is just a mirror neurons that we use to mirror others, mirroring ourselves, and our free will is simply an illusion. See footnote number 4 for our lecture on free will by Sam Harris. Well, what does this all mean? Well, not much really. It's not like we can change any of it. Just be aware that most often, when you do things, you do not do them for well thought out reasons. You do them, mostly, for fast, irrational reasons, and then justify them to yourself afterwards. This is the source of many of our biases and cognitive issues, I suspect. Which is why, in order to think rationally, or as rationally as possible, we must do all sorts of things to avoid these biases. Anchoring, for example, is one of the classic biases. The tendency to base all discussions and estimates on whatever the first solution or first piece of information comes to hand, even if it's false or even irrelevant to the situation, because our fast thinking processes simply grab it and then try to run with it. Keep in mind, this fast and simple approach of grabbing the first thing and then running like mad is not in the least bit rational, but it is fast, and often that's all you need to do to escape the tiger. So evolution selected for it, and we're all descended from people that used it and lived. So it's powerful, and you need to be aware of it. And once you're aware that the entire arrow of apparently rational thought is pointing in the wrong direction, then you can take some steps to correct it. I highly recommend reading Daniel Kahneman's book, Thinking Fast and Slow, and getting Eliezer Yudkowsky's book, Rationality from AI to Zombies. Or, if you like audiobooks, check out the audiobook on my channel. Links in the doobly-doo down below. Bit of a short one today. Shortage of interesting things to say, and a little bit short on free time. Next week, possibly, will be a discussion on the ethics of mind control, or something else I found more interesting. Bye for now.